Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. We're in the heat, the middle, the big to-do of the Winter Workout Tour. Check out what's going on there. The guys with Game 7, we had a great time up at Quincy, so just make sure you're following along with us. We love our Winter Workout Tour. It's a great opportunity to get to know new people, see new things. We did a little new twist this time. We actually, when we were up in Quincy, we went to the Visitor Center, spoke with Holly Kane, who's part of the Quincy, Illinois Visitor Center there, and it was cool getting to know a little bit more about the city and what was going on there, so people are more informed about when they go up for a tournament or whatnot, what you can do when you go to Quincy. I thought it was cool. Yeah. Had a lot of fun with that one.
Quincy's a great spot. My son actually coached the Quincy Gems for one season.
Is that right?
Yep, in 2000, I think it was 2018.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah, it's a nice town. The college there and whatnot, right by the river. We were in the Visitor Center. There's a Mediterranean castle that was built there many years ago, right on the river.
Okay.
And it was beautiful. It was really cool.
Yeah, and it's sister cities with Hannibal, so
right.
There's a ton of stuff to do there also.
Yeah, because then we flew right down to Hannibal after that, went over to Clemens Field.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
been there, done that.
Home of the Hoots. Well, used to be the home of the Hoots, we'll put it that way. But, the city just bought that, and I think they're trying to get that back into shape and doing some things. So we'll see what happens. But check it out. It was a lot of fun. Game7Baseball.com. Season's just around the corner, guys. So make sure you're checking it out. Today on the show, we're talking Legion Baseball today. And I have a guest with me. I'm looking forward to this conversation from Washington, Missouri. Kent Getsee, Post 218, Washington. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Should be a fun time.
Absolutely. I've known about your program. My family, my son played. I played. I'm sure you played Legion ball. You know. My nephews played Legion ball over at Baldwin.
Okay.
You know, and saw some pretty good baseball over there.
Yeah, we've locked horns with Baldwin plenty of times.
Yeah, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, they're great. Greg and I get along great. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's all good. Yeah, we're playing in their cancer tournament coming up in June. I think it's 7th through the 10th.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
Awesome. Yeah, it's
very good. And so familiar with it, St. Peter's over here. My son played Rick Reno. He does a good job with the St. Peter's group.
He's the president of the 9th District.
Yes, he is, isn't he?
El Presidente, for sure.
Or do they district chairman? Something like that?
He's
right?
both, actually. when Tom Rhodes became the state chairman, we didn't have a 9th District chairman.
Gotcha.
So Tom Rick decided that he could do both.
He jumped right in the middle.
Oh yeah. Well, he ran right into the fire. God love him. I love him to death.
He's a good dude. I like Rick. My kids went to school with their kids. My son was a little bit behind. I think it was Ryan.
Okay.
And so, because my son graduated from East in 2016.
Okay.
And I think Ryan was maybe 2 years ahead of that. Can't remember off the top of my head, but something like that.
Okay.
But a lot of fun. We're going to talk a little bit about some Washington Post 218 to start with. How long has the program been around?
Well, it's before I was alive, I can tell you that. I know our first, what I know of for a fact, our first state championship was in 1957. And they literally played in the exact same ballpark we play in today. Obviously, with renovations, right? Yeah. There's been quite a few renovations since, but 1957 team, and I'm fortunate enough to get to talk to some of those guys around town still that played on that team. Wow. So I think our local newspaper guy, I think it was 1953 is when they fielded the first American Legion team.
You still get, evidently, a lot of support from the community, from the Post, the people around. How I don't want to say difficult, but how's it been getting guys that have played Legion ball to come back, coach, be part of the program? Has that been something that you've worked at?
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of our I think our trick on how we keep kids, and why people like to have their kids in our program is, we constantly have players that played for us come back and coach for us. One of my assistant coaches, Martin Eckhoff, shout out to Martin, 1989 state championship team he was on.
Oh, wow.
And they went to a regional, but Martin coaches with me, and his son Dane was on our team in 21. We won a state title in 22, and then his other son, was on our junior team. But we've got the manager that just our junior team won the state title this past season. The manager is Todd Claycamp. He played for me when he was, coming up through the ranks. He coached with us. I mean, we have guys like that have just been, dedicated. And what's cool about it is the younger guys, they can see more eye to eye than with a 60-year-old codger like me. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, I'm the disciplinarian, and then when they got a real problem, they go running up to, a guy like Todd, or,
that guy's mean.
I've got Mick Fox who coaches with us. He's more of a contemporary to those guys, and, they'll go up to him and say, "Why is Coach Getsee so angry?" So, it's and all three of our teams, this year we're going to have 4 teams, but all 3 of our teams have always had at least 1 or 2 guys that fit that role.
I met, it's Claycamp, right? Coach Claycamp?
Right, Claycamp is how we pronounce it out there.
Claycamp?
Yes,
okay.
right.
Because I met him at the state event when Tom was giving out the awards and whatnot. Him and he was there along with the gentleman from McDonald, Dugan, can't remember all of it, that won the AAA out of Kansas City area.
Oh, okay.
They were giving out the awards
sure.
at the
state
event.
Guys, right.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So, Todd, now, in fairness, Todd's a young guy.
Yes,
so
he is.
He did step back this year, and Coach Eric Volkerdien's taken over. But the point is Todd coached all the way through, gave his time, gave his, some of his youth years away when he could have been out playing softball, doing crazy stuff like that, but he gave it back to our program. And our kids see that, and they know that it's something special.
Sometimes the wife and kids just kind of go, nope.
I'm all too familiar with that. I kind of went through a little hiccup with that with my own daughter, but then, once we got up on the other side of it, she was fine with it. And, now she's got a son of her own, and he's been out at the park already. And, so it makes it more fun.
Very good. Very good. And I think that's the important thing when you're talking about, and look, Kent, we've seen this. We know one of the things that we're working on with, and why we're here talking, what we enjoy about baseball is, I always believe there's a place to play for everybody. Not everything fits everybody or this or that. And this is why when people say, well, where would you send your kid? You know what? Why don't you, if you want to take a look at things, go talk to your local American Legion. Go talk to a club. Go talk to the people that are running it, and find out. Why don't you do some go through a vetting process? I don't think if somebody walked up to you and said, "You know what, my son, we're trying to make a decision of where we want to go and play and whatnot," you go, we don't want to talk to you.
No, right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, we would, our premise is that we have plenty to offer.
Right.
There's all kinds of promises that are out there, okay? And,
yes.
Let's just face the reality here. People say, we're going to do this for you, we're going to do that for you. We underpromise and overdeliver. We just tell people we're going to put together the best schedule that you can play in baseball, period. We're going to give you coaches that are very knowledgeable, and then we're going to see where it goes from there. We have all the connections that you need if you want to play college baseball. We got it all. My son's a head baseball coach at Transylvania University. We've got an ex-coach, coach Cody Gardner. He's a coach in Lewis University. I mean, we have all the connections in the area that you would need to have to help a guy move on. And as you said, reality is, I tell our guys, hey, give me some places where you want to go play, and don't put University of Miami, University of Texas, LSU on the list. right? Like, let's be real here, and then we'll reach out for you.
Unless I look at you and go, you know, you're 6'3" and you hit the ball 400 feet, we might talk about LSU then, right?
No question, no question. If that guy's there, we're going to be able to recognize it. Trust me. But you know, it's a reality check for all these guys, and you know, as you said, you can play in an NAIA, you can play at a JUCO, Division I, II, III. Excuse me. But those are out there, and you know, just realizing where you fit.
Kent, when you're talking about your coaching staff, especially at the A and AA levels, which is freshman, sophomore, you know, that kind of thing, and I'm sure there may be a few juniors that get in between there as well, depending upon age, right? Mm-hmm. So you have that situation. You know, you've got to have some guys in place there that really understand how to coach, because the goal is development, isn't it?
100%. You know, we kind of look at it like as a volunteer.
Yeah.
I put in, maybe it means more to me than if I were getting paid $1,000 a year or $2,000 a year, and it's more like a job. Mm-hmm. To me, this is my passion. So we spend a lot of time wanting to help guys, teaching ourselves, watching whatever current videos are out there. You know, there's all kinds of new ways using hit tracks and metrics, and
sure,
you know, even down to, you know, new style pitching machines that are available for us.
Right.
So, you know, we do all of that, but we do it on a volunteer basis, and you know, anybody that wants to be a part of it can be a part of it.
Personally, and I believe this very much, and I have no problem saying this, and I don't care if it's Legion or club or this or that. If you're paying a young man some money to, maybe he doesn't want it, whatnot, but I have no problem with those things. You know, I understand they volunteer their time. That's great, fantastic. I just don't think that's a horrible thing, because they are spending their time. That is their time that they're giving back, and it's not a horrible thing to do that. That's just my opinion.
No.
I know what you mean. I'm just
certainly not saying that guys that get paid, you know, are mailing it in by any stretch of the imagination.
I just think that maybe, you know, that's just something. My thoughts. This is the opinion of the host of the show, and not necessarily the guest.
No,
but I think there's opportunity for Legion in those respects to look at some of those options. To give those guys a little bit of that. I'm sure hotels, if they're traveling and things, get taken care of. I get it. But, you know, that's just a thought process, because there is so much that goes into it now, especially with the level of the game.
Yeah, you know, on that subject, though, I got to back up here just real quick.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
On that subject, you know, if we were struggling getting guys to help us, certainly we would have to come up with a model where we would monetize it, right?
Sure.
But we're fortunate enough that we haven't had to go down that road. But, you know, as you said, if we go to a tournament, you know, all that stuff gets picked up by our post baseball program funds. But you know, I was going to mention, we've got a guy who played Legion ball for us. He played at St. Louis University, and he coaches the Rawlings Tigers, and he gets paid. And his name's Trent Limecooler, and you know, he does a great job with those guys. He works with guys even that are in our program at my personal cage. We have, you know, 100% no issue with it. It's just not the model that we have had to adopt for our program.
I got you. And I think that's great. That's fantastic. And I love the fact that you guys are taking care of the fellas when they travel. I think those things, that's great, because they are giving their time. You know, they are leaving home, whether they're married or not. They're still.
Yeah, no question. No question. Yeah, we take an annual trip to Terre Haute, Indiana, and you know, we're there for 4 nights, I guess, 3 or 4 nights, depending on you know, when they slot us. But you know, I mean, the way money runs these days in hotels. I mean, it's $160 a night. And
if you still haven't got your uniforms all squared away, it's February. It's getting that time. Go over to Prime Sports Midwest, primesportsmw.com. Go check out our buddies over there. It's not too late to get uniforms. Whether you're a rec team, large club, doesn't matter. Handle any size. They handle any size. They can set up fantastic fanwear stores, and 80% of the uniforms, fanwear, are decorated in the store. And that is in Fenton, Missouri. It's all local. 1550 Ocello Drive. It's over in Champions Village down there. So they control the quality, the design, the creativity, the deadlines. Most importantly, locally owned and focused on customer service. Rick Benz does a great job down there. So please, Prime Sports, MW.com. Check it out. Get your uniforms. Get yourself set up. And tell them YBM sent you. Mm-hmm. We appreciate that. And that's something I want to ask real quick within this as we're talking about these things. And we'll throw this in there because I know Game 7 is one of our partners, and we talked about that, and I connected you with Dave and Dave, and I think they do a great job, and I think you're looking for opportunities. I really enjoyed the fact that you reached out to that on that level, because I think the more that there's synergy between what we consider maybe club stuff and American Legion stuff, instead of just baseball and American Legion being part of baseball. It is. In fact, it's probably a larger part of baseball than the club teams at this point, because it has such a tradition in that respect. It's been around much longer. Right. So I love the fact that you did that. Where do you see American Legion within tournaments like that and the growth in that movement?
Yeah, so I'm going to just back up one thing here, and I'm going to give you a little quick history. 2020, when everything was shut down, I don't know if you were aware of this or not, when everything was shut down, our park was open. In Washington. And we played at our field, we played somewhere in the neighborhood of 160 baseball games in 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And part of that was we were, American Legion at National said, hey, we're shutting down. You've got to get your own insurance. You've got to do your own thing. Well, in Washington, the way we operate, we were like, we're not going down. If our park's open, we're going to play. We'll figure out a way to play. And I get it. It was dangerous times. People were thinking, but we were going to be outside. We put the umpire behind the mound, not behind the catcher. We did everything we could. Well, when we put that puzzle together, I reached out to absolutely everybody that I had connections with. And that included a connection through another family member, the Gamers, the Gators, Gators across the river, the Prospects, and we all played. And we all played each other.
There you go.
And at the end of the day, it's baseball. The field dimensions are exactly the same for everybody. So, it was like, hey, this is awesome. Yeah. So we've always felt like, we don't feel like we're above them or below them. We feel like we're the same. Now, do we lean into the teams that are playing by American Legion rules? Of course.
Absolutely.
Like some of the prospect teams, they'd show up, they didn't even have a lineup. They just go, these are my players. I'm going to put them in wherever I want, whenever I want. Well, our games are broadcast on the radio, so it's like we got to have a little bit of coordination here. A little bit. You got to help me out here.
Right.
But when it was all said and done, we knew that we always want to play those teams if those opportunities are there, and that's where I leaned into Game 7. After watching your show and seeing Game 7, and I was like, I got to go see what this is all about. I do nothing about it because I'm not let's call it a youth baseball tournament looking guy.
Right.
This year we have 2 freshman teams, and so we're 2 of the 6 teams that are in the league. So I'm like, we need more games. Game 7, I look in. They've got tournaments, and I originally was going to host a couple of tournaments at our park. Instead, we're going to play in one, and then we're going to host one, and that way I'll have enough parents to kind of. I don't know what the footprint's going to be like, so we want to make sure we can do it properly, because we don't like to do anything in our park that isn't, because at our park, we play the national anthem before every game. You've been out there. We play music between. We have a great concession stand, so we didn't want to give anybody the wrong experience out there. But I see that as opportunities for us to not only grow games at our park, have people become more aware of who we are and what Washington is all about, Washington and Washington baseball, It's 100% win-win. I'm not caught up in they're not American Legion, and we've just never felt that way.
I love that thought process, Kent. I really do, because I think that that's where we need to go across the board. American Legion is and personally, the one thing that I think is interesting still, I like tournament baseball. I like it all. But the one thing that I think does miss, you can get maybe a little bit of it for weekends, but not really. I like the grind of it. Mm-hmm. When you're playing 40 games in 50 days, that's testing you. And when you need the pitching, do you have enough? Do you have a staff? And kids competing for spots. I think we've lost a little bit of that on the club side, and this would be maybe something, and I've said this before, and nothing new. I think there needs to be an expansion of rosters on the club side, because you get 10 kids, a couple kids get hurt, you're done. Then you're trying to cannibalize other guys. Hey, can you come play for us? It happens, and they do, but yet, and then you got 10 kids, and how many arms can you throw?
Right. Well, it's a little bit of the difference between American Legion. We can have 18 players, but those 18 players are locked on your roster. So let's just say you get to the middle of June and 2 guys get their arms hurt. I can't go down the street and say, hey, Tommy, can you come play for us? I've locked a roster in. And that gets lost with some people, like, why do you carry 18 players? And that's the reason. We have 18 players in all 3 teams, because if something goes south, you got to have, those extra guys. But more to your point is we play a lot of games. Mm-hmm. We try to play some tournaments on the weekends.
Sure.
Every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday at our park is booked from the second or third week in May until the middle of July. Every one of those days is booked with one of our now 4 teams this year. Wow. So you're right. You got to have the arms. That's the only way you get any better. If you don't try guys, and give them a chance, you're never going to know, because for us, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, it boils down to you got to win your district tournament. If you win the district tournament, you can go on to the zone, you can go on to the state. It's all about preparation and giving guys chances.
I want to come to this too, because we were talking earlier. I dig your hat. And we were talking about, I like your logo. I like the W. You got to tell me what font that is afterwards.
I plagiarized it from Western Michigan University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we were talking about hats, and you said, I got to order hats. So I got to order hats so early because our tryouts are here. Is there a thought process? And I don't know what the rules are nationally. Is it governed by certain things? Where you see clubs having tryouts in July, and I know you guys are still playing a lot. The World Series goes till when?
It's the second week in August is when it's being played.
Is there a thought process to giving those types of opportunities to American Legion teams and kind of going into that thought process and saying, hey, we're here too, come try out for us. We're here. Do you think you would get more opportunities even with that?
I think we would get guys coming. If they didn't have to more guys that play on some of those club teams. Mm-hmm. But there is a rule in American Legion baseball that once we start the playoffs, not the regular season, once we start the playoffs, you cannot be playing for any other team until your team is done.
Right.
So, while we have a dual participation form, I can play in May, I can play in June. But when the district tournament starts, you have to be 100% committed to that team. And that's the separator, I think, for some of those players that might be thinking that way. But again, once you get to that point in those playoffs, you're gonna be playing some really good teams and be playing some very meaningful baseball, or you're gonna be out. And then you can go play wherever else you want to go play. But you just have to be aware that that's one of the rules, to add those guys. Do
you guys ever see moving your tryouts up before into the end of summer after all those things?
Yeah, so we actually host and most of the posts that have 3 teams or at least a couple of teams, they have 2 tryouts. So we have a tryout in September.
Okay.
And we will keep, out of our 18 guys, depending on, who they are. Did we win a state championship? Well, if we won a state championship, I just watched all those guys play. I'm probably going to put almost every guy back onto my team. But we'll probably keep about a dozen, which I did this past September. And then mid-April, we'll have another tryout and we'll round out the roster. It allows a lot of those guys to know, hey, I know where I'm playing. The guys that didn't make it, it forces them to work a little harder to make the team, make sure that they're playing high school baseball, prepare themselves, and then, hopefully come back out and make it. Rarely do we have guys that really want to be on the team or working hard that don't make one of our teams, but that's pretty much how we do it. So, yeah, we do have the 2 different tryouts, and most programs do that.
Because it was interesting, so there's no real rule that says you can't do an early one, because I know I've seen a lot of them do it in May of the following year, after high school, they do the tryouts before, kind of like high school time, and it's like, wait a minute, what? That seems awful late, because you've got, you have the club teams as soon as the season's finishing there, you've got tryouts in the 4th of July weekend. Not that bad, but
yeah,
they're early. So do you see yourself coming out of that August, or maybe not you guys, but do you think some of these other Legion posts could benefit from pushing the tryouts a little early?
Yeah, I would say the sooner they can get those guys onto a roster, the longer they can hold on to them, and they'll feel like they're part of it. But I was just laughing here when you were talking about that, because we have a really quirky rule that we have with American Legion Baseball is you don't have to submit your roster until, I want to say last year it was like the 12th of June, something like that.
Oh, wow.
So there are some programs out there who shall remain nameless, you guys know who you are, that they'll have 25 guys coming to games.
Oh.
Right? And then they get down to about the 10th of June and they say, okay, this is my 18 guys. And then they cut 7 guys. You know what I'm saying? So when you play them, you might play them, on a non-district game, and you see I'm not going to say a completely different team, but you see a different team when you see them in the playoffs. So that is just a little quirk that maybe should be looked at. Tom, if you're listening.
Little spring training action, right?
Well, that's pretty much what it is. But, most of the teams don't operate that way. Most of the teams, as you and I were talking earlier, we work off of a base school. Right. So who your guys are going to be. There's not going to be that many surprises. But some of the teams that are in the outlying areas, they pull from maybe 8 or 9 schools, and they do that.
Yeah, because I got to understand the enrollment caps and looking at those things. So I get it now. Didn't necessarily before, but I get it now and I understand. And I know it's tough because you have to work. You have to figure out some way so guys aren't just grabbing guys everywhere. But I still think there's some opportunity. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to throw this by you. And I've thought about this, and I haven't said this, Tom, but it's curious to me. Has there ever been a thought to creating maybe just 4 Legion teams in an area and guys coming out and trying out and creating some opportunities just to, teams that are really good, and making it a real scenario that way where you have some really solid teams. Yeah.
Well, I think the byproduct of that is there's a lot of guys that will get left on the side of the road.
I understand what you're saying.
So it's we try to include more, and I think that would be interesting. However, I will just tell you a quick little story.
Sure.
In 2021, we won the state title. We went to Hastings, Nebraska to play in the regional, and there was a team there from Iowa, and the team was from the entire county of Dubuque.
That's small.
Let me tell you something. They had returning college guys.
Oh, wow.
They had it all. You name it, they had it. And we hung with them the entire game. I mean, it was just, they had a couple. They literally had two bullets down the third base line that actually hit the bag. So we got a couple of bad breaks, and that's baseball. But they had literally one of those teams. I think in the state of Iowa that year there was only like maybe 5 teams total.
Wow! And
their team was an entire county. So, but they were a great team. They ended up coming in. I guess they came in. I think they won that tournament. Now that I think about it, they won that tournament, went on to the World Series. So
I think there's plenty of opportunity. I think there's room to look at things. Not you don't have to change something. Go, oh yeah, we do it. No, but just having conversations. The state chairman, Tom Rhodes, he's been working with the Division II, and I think there's some great opportunities there. I just think I understand what you're saying. You have some guys maybe left, but that's competition. And I think when you get into high school and you get into those higher levels, you want to create this competitive situation, because if you're talking about going to college and playing, you have to go and compete. You know it as well. At this point, when you're in that 16 and up, if you're not going in thinking compete, you might as well just go,
play the piano.
Right?
Throw that out there. Well, you're right. When you hit about 16, especially if you're a mature 16-year-old,
yes,
you're in the fight at the high school level no matter what. You might be a freshman at 16, you might be a sophomore at 16, but you're still vying for that starting shortstop spot. For being the ace of the team. Doesn't matter if you're 16 or 18. It doesn't matter. You're right. You're 100% right about that.
And here's the other thing, Kent. I've had Class 6 coaches that we've talked to tell me I may have to cut a kid that I know will play college baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So,
good problem to have, but
yes. Right.
Right.
But that's a tough conversation. It's like what you said. I think these are the difficult things. And we try to create the best case scenario for everybody, and I get that. But at some point, there has to be this level of understanding what competition is about, citizenship through sportsmanship, and there is a Division II level. That doesn't mean you still can't continue to develop and to create opportunities for kids to grow. I think we've got to look maybe a little outside the box and look at the model of how we're doing things.
Well, using the Division II league as the example, if you're going to create a Division II league which they did, that is going to be for all kids in that high school, there could be the normal American Legion, and then you could have, the Division I plus, where it would be, you could then pull from, say, the entire Franklin County, the entire Warren County, and say, okay, I have the opportunity to get these guys. Anybody left over could be on those teams, on their local teams. If you're thinking along those lines, I think that's the path you would have to go for it to work.
It's curious to me. I always think this stuff pops in my head whenever I see. I'm not the one involved in making the decisions. I'm not saying this is the way it is. It's just things that pop in my head. And I think about this opportunity. Plus, with what you said, if you've got a young man, you got your team here, and you got 18 kids, and they're locked. And I love that thought process. But if you got kind of like the major league deal, where you have a 25-man roster, you got the 18. If you got a couple injuries, you can bring a kid or two,
right, and create
to those opportunities for the other kids. I think there's so many possibilities within this construct that as you said, that the model fits within baseball itself.
I mean, there are ways that can all be. That can all be expanded within American Legion Baseball, because, like, for example, I have 3 teams, right? Well, I have 4 teams, right? So, with the way it works is if I roster 18 guys, I'm locked to those 18 guys, which we already said. However, but we do have another 36 kids that are in our program. So in theory, I should be able to say, hey, something happened. I'm going to the state tournament. I lost 2 guys. I should be able to grab 2 guys and bring them up.
I agree.
Right now, I have to go below a threshold of 12 before I can bring 1.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. So, you know, I mean, you know, when listen, we're having philosophical conversation about this.
Yeah.
That would be a guy who's been on the ground in the trench. That would be my philosophy on like how to use those rostered guys official to my program properly.
This is why I love to have these conversations, especially with gentlemen like yourself, because you're in that, and I get to throw out the stuff.
Right? No, I get it. I totally get it. We get a lot of people say, like I said, like why do you keep 18? I've had parents ask me that. Why do you keep 18? And I'm like, well, when I explain it to you, it becomes like a light bulb goes on. It's like, oh, okay, I get it.
But I think it's fun, and if we can spark some thought and some conversation from this, that's always, I think, the thing, Kent. Because, you know, you never get better unless you're looking to improve. And when you take opportunities and you look at things and whatnot, and that's one of the things that I think is interesting with Tom Rhodes at this point as the state chairman. He's looking at opportunities. You can't do anything overnight. Nothing changes and whatnot. But I love the road, and there's programs, and I think American Legion baseball should be a part of the conversation. I really do. Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I've spent a good portion of my life dedicated to it, but you know, it's looking at it as a whole. Yes, there's plenty more that we can talk about, that we can do. It starts at our local level, and then we got to work our way in it, because it has to be nationals' idea in the end of the day.
Yeah, right.
And so it has ladders to go up. So like you said, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. It has to be proven here that, hey, this is a real need, and then we shove it up the ladder and hope that they wrap their arms around it. So
hope the rungs don't break.
100%. But you know, in the meantime, we do what we can to, you know, play our games, play good competition, and see once if we can move down the playoff ladder.
I'll finish it. We'll finish the conversation this way, because I think I saw what you guys were doing with your showcase event last year. Mm-hmm. You had it out at Ronsick Park. If you haven't gone to Ronsick Park, see, because my son played at East, so we played Washington every year. So we were out there, been to that ballpark, then American Legion, and I think he played he did play a little Slava.
Okay.
And I think they played out there a few times. We played out there a few times as well. So it is a great venue. If you haven't watched a ball game out there, I'm probably not telling anybody that's watching anything they don't know, though.
Well, yeah.
You never know, though.
It's home away from home for us.
There you go.
So it's an awesome park.
But, the conversation is been had with Prep Baseball Report, PBR Missouri, and showcase days and things of that nature. Talk a little bit about how important those things are you for not only your program, but to help these kids that want to move forward.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about showcases, the idea is to get those players in front of college coaches. Mm-hmm. I think on our end as the ninth district, we put on a completely free showcase for our players, and last year I guess it was 7 colleges. The year before that was 9. Right now I've got at least 6 committed for the one on June 4th. And, for example, Webster University picked up a guy that was on my team last year. And he's going to be a pitcher, outfielder. Oh, yeah. My son coached with them for 5 years.
Yeah. That's a good program.
Yeah. So and that's kind of how the connection had. So through all that, I've got the coaches they know that they're going to come out. They know they're going to be there for maybe 5 hours. They know that they're going to see at least a fistful of players that could potentially play for them. And that's a good day at the office. So
yes,
that's what we put on for them. Now, to prep baseball one you're talking about, if it materializes, you're basically going down the same road.
Yeah.
You're saying, hey, let's do this. We have made it in the 9th district. We have made it where that day is blocked off. Nobody can play games that day.
Oh wow!
At our levels that are going to be participating. So, we expect those guys to be there because it's completely free to them. I mean, we are paying the way to make that happen.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's a good deal.
That's a good opportunity. And, my son played NAIA baseball. There's Division II, Division III. And like you said, Webster is one of the better Division III programs around.
Yes. So just, interesting fact, the first year Webster went to the World Series was the first year my son coached with them.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like it's my son's because of my son, they made the World Series. Now, Coach Courage would never agree with me on that.
That's all right.
No, Bill Courage is a great guy. He basically took my son under his wing and helped him become a better coach, and my son ended up getting a head coaching job. But that connection with Bill and my son and all those guys that played for Bill are what helps our guys in this area, especially in the 9th district.
I like what I see with what Chuck Johnson's putting together down there with Hillsboro. I think it's a similar fashion. And the one thing that I think is interesting is the one coach. And, here's the tragedy. I'll go and look up his name. This is what the gray hair does to you. And it's terrible because the gentleman runs a club. He runs a youth club.
Okay.
But he's gotten into the Hillsboro American Legion baseball, and he even said, "I'm not saying they got to go play Legion, but it's an opportunity if we're there and we're developing these kids and this and this." I think that's a great growth path. I like the thought process. I really do, and you got kids that are going to the same schools, although their programs they got kids from different schools. And even if they get a kid developed and whatnot, and he goes to play at, Post 253 in Festus, which is a good program, or goes to Jackson or something like that, good for them.
Right.
It just keeps the development process for Legion baseball at a high level.
Right. And if Chuck puts together that program and he gets that momentum that he has, then his program's going to be the one, that everybody's going to be behind, in that area.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot in it, and I talked to Chuck for like maybe 30 minutes one day on a car ride. I was coming home, and he's an interesting cat. He's he's the state chairman of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Went to Alabama and lives in Missouri. I mean, I think I hit those bullet points he told me, right? But he's in with both feet for American Legion baseball for sure.
Last thing, you're working to get the regional tournament to Washington. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going well. It's going good. We've got our bid package in. I caught wind that our bid package is now the only one that's on the table for the region. So hopefully we'll get it. We put a lot of work into it, and we ended up with an 82-page packet. Our chairman Trent Hendrickson put that whole thing together, and with some help. Jeff Patke is another guy. He's a councilman in our town, knows a lot of people. We ended up getting an endorsement from Governor Parsons, from some other people in the state. Obviously, we have to have the state American Legion commander, and of course Tom Rhodes, the baseball chairman, had to give us recommendations. So, it's quite an undertaking. If we get it, you have to pay $20,000 per season to actually host it.
Wow.
So, there'll be a lot of gates, there'll be a lot of, hat and shirt sales, things like that. And then, luckily our community's behind us. So, there'll be some sponsorships and things like that to kind of help us push through. But at this point, we're hopeful that we get it. We've come this far. We're gonna go for it anyway, and it should be fun. I've been lucky enough. I've been to 4 regionals. I see how they work. I think what we have to offer is as good or better than any place I've ever been.
There you go.
So we're looking forward to being that host.
I hope you guys get it. I really do. I love the fact of the economics for the area, for the community. I think those things are positive, just positive impact all the way around.
Yeah, and we're hopeful that it'll make a bigger headline than just Washington, Missouri, and then it'll help raise the tides of American Legion baseball all across the state, especially this side of the state. And if it does what we hope it'll do, American Legion baseball will continue to stay strong year in and year out.
I'd be happy to help. We have the platform here. Love talking baseball. Love talking American Legion baseball. Any way we can help you with that, I'd love to do it.
We appreciate that. We'll once we get down the line and we figure out whether we get the site visit or not, we'll be doing everything we can do to push it through for sure.
Hey everybody, Kent Getsee, Washington Post 218. Good luck to you this year.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Come back and see us. I know we're going to get Kent back on. We'll get out to your ballpark, see some baseball, and maybe we'll get out there. We're trying to cram everything in through the summer. I always love to bring the cameras out and talk to people. I'd love to do a game. I'd love to broadcast a game.
I was going to say we're going to be hosting that Game 7 freshman tournament June 9th, 10th, and 11th out there. And
I'll look at the schedule.
We're looking forward to having that and putting that together, and should be a good time.
I think the thing about that though is that's the same weekend as the state championships for Game 7. And we'll be in the middle of that. We always when we do the tournament that weekend, we got seven tournaments that we do. We gave away our inaugural scholarship last year, the Super 7 scholarship.
Nice.
Game 7, and we did that, and we take 7 players, top award winner from each of the 14U championship games. They enter, they write an essay. So we had a lot of fun with that last year.
I'll bet.
And
sounds fun.
Young man from Edwardsville.
Where's that played?
The state championships will be at BMAC, Bridgeton Municipal Athletic Complex. So we live stream the 14U championship game, and we have a lot of fun with that.
Nice. We need to get that out at Ronzig Field.
I'm telling you.
Just saying, it's turf.
I know, right? There you go.
Rain or shine, we're playing.
So thanks again, man.
Yeah,
appreciate it. Enjoyed.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Look, I gotta grab it. Hang on. I gotta get at least my fungo here.
Mm-hmm.
We got a contest going on. Prime Sports Midwest, primesportsmidwest.com. The great folks over there working with us. We got our contest happening. Right now we have the fungo bat. We have back here our Marucci hitting net, and we have our bucket of baseballs over here. If you are watching for the first time, hit the subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, you can't unsubscribe and resubscribe. Sorry. But
that's a good thought.
Yeah, right. Subscribe. In the comments, right down there, we love Prime Sports Midwest. That will get you entered for the starter kit if you're a first-time coach, right? Yeah. It's great. Fungo, baseballs, and a hitting net. Got to have that stuff, right? Well, you got the cages, right?
We got cages. We got cages and we got balls.
But that youth guy, you're out there in the park and you set up the net and there it is. So make sure you subscribe. Write in the comment, we love Prime Sports Midwest. That'll get you entered in to win the bucket of baseballs, fungo, and the hitting net. All sponsored by Prime Sports Midwest. Get your uniforms, get your gear, whatever you need. They're local. 80% of what they do on their shirts, on uniforms, on fan wear is done locally, and it gets to you right there. So they do a great job over there. And you tell Rick Benz that YBM sent you, okay? Folks, thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. Hitters, got any advice for the hitters?
Hit them where they ain't.
There it is. Exactly. We'll see y'all next time.